His fiancée left him after his accident. Wealthy CEO found love again in the arms of a black nurse. Time moved like broken glass, sharp, cutting fragments of sound and light. The red traffic signal, Rebecca's scream, the impact that folded his Lamborghini like origami, the taste of blood and the smell of burning rubber. What if everything you believed about love was destroyed in 30 seconds? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The last thing Cole Harrington remembered before his world shattered was Rebecca's laugh echoing from the passenger seat. 30 seconds later, she was gone, and so was everything he thought he knew about love. Rain hammered the windshield like bullets against glass, Seattle's neon lights bleeding watercolor streaks across the darkness. Cole's knuckles were white against the Lamborghini's steering wheel. His jaw clenched as Rebecca's voice cut through the storm outside. "You missed the rehearsal dinner planning meeting again," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Do you know how embarrassing that was? Everyone asking where the groom was while I sat there like an idiot." Cole shifted gears harder than necessary. "I told you, the Tokyo deal, the London merger, the Singapore acquisition." Rebecca's reflection in the passenger window looked cold, distant. "When exactly do I fit into your schedule, Cole? After you've conquered Asia?" He wanted to explain that everything he built was for them, for their future, but the words stuck in his throat like always. Success had taught him to negotiate everything except the one relationship that mattered. "I bought you the penthouse on Fifth Avenue," he said quietly. You thought money fixed everything." She finally looked at him, her blue eyes reflecting the city lights like ice. "I don't want another house, Cole. I want a husband who shows up." The argument had started over wedding venues. Rebecca wanted the Space Needle, something grand for the cameras, while he preferred something intimate. But it had grown into something uglier, something about priorities and public image and the way he worked 18-hour days because silence felt safer than conversation. His phone buzzed on the dashboard. Another email from his assistant about quarterly projections. Rebecca's laugh was sharp, bitter. "There it is. Your Real love calling." Cole reached for the phone without thinking, muscle memory stronger than wisdom. That's when he saw the truck. Time moved like broken glass, sharp, cutting fragments of sound and light. The red traffic signal, Rebecca's scream, the impact that folded his Lamborghini like origami, the taste of blood and the smell of burning rubber. His last coherent thought before darkness claimed him was Rebecca's horrified face, her mouth open in a shape he'd never seen before. Fear. Pure, honest fear for someone she claimed to love. Then nothing. What if everything you believed about love was destroyed in 30 seconds? Have you ever had someone show their true colors during your darkest moment? This is about what happens when crisis reveals character. Stay with me to discover who really stays when the lights go out. But here's what Cole didn't know as consciousness slipped away. Rebecca was already calculating, already planning her exit, already deciding that a scarred, broken version of Seattle's most eligible bachelor wasn't worth the investment she'd made in their relationship. 6 days later, when Cole's eyes finally fluttered open in Harborview Medical Center, the first word he whispered was Rebecca. The silence that followed told him everything he needed to know, but the gentle voice that answered would change his life forever. She had the kind of voice that could heal wounds, soft, steady, and completely unimpressed by his billion-dollar reputation. "Easy there, Mr. Harrington. You've been out for almost a week." Cole's vision swam as consciousness dragged him back to a world that felt wrong, tilted, broken. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and something else, lavender, maybe from her lotion. Everything hurt. His legs felt distant, disconnected. His face burned like fire. "Rebecca." His voice came out as a croak. The woman adjusting his four-line paused. She was beautiful in a way that didn't demand attention. Warm brown skin, natural hair pulled back in a professional bun, eyes that held kindness without pity. Her scrubs were the color of deep ocean water. "I'm Nia Carter, your trauma nurse. You've been assigned to my care during your recovery." Cole tried to sit up, gasping as pain shot through his ribs. Nia's hands were immediately there, steady and sure. helping him settle back against the pillows. "Where's my fiancée? Rebecca Matthews? She should be here. Let's focus on you right now." Nia's voice was gentle but firm. "You've sustained significant injuries. Broken ribs, shattered left leg, concussion. The facial lacerations required extensive suturing." Facial lacerations. Cole's hand moved instinctively toward his face, but Nia caught his wrist. "Don't. Not yet. Let the healing begin before you start judging the damage." Something in her tone made him look at her. Really look. She moved with practiced grace between machines that beeped his survival into existence, checking monitors, adjusting settings. No recognition in her eyes. No excitement about treating Seattle's youngest tech billionaire. Just professional competence mixed with something he hadn't experienced in years. Genuine care for him as a person, not a portfolio. "How long have I been here?" he asked. 6 days. "You coded twice in surgery. We weren't sure." She trailed off, focusing on his chart. "But you're a fighter. Stronger than you look." Cole almost laughed. Stronger than he looked. If only she knew how weak he really was. How he'd built an empire, but couldn't build a conversation with the woman he was supposed to marry. "My company is being handled by your assistant. Marcus, I think. He's called every day." Nia checked the foredrip, her fingers brushing his arm. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through him, awareness cutting through the pain medication. "Your employees seem very dedicated. More dedicated than his fiancée, apparently. When was the last time you ate a real meal?" Nia asked, studying his chart. "Before the accident, I mean." The question caught him off guard. When had anyone asked about his basic needs? "I don't remember." "Well, we're going to change that. Recovery requires fuel, not just willpower. When was the last time someone saw past your exterior to who you really are? Comment below if you've experienced that rare recognition." When he asked about Rebecca for the third time, Nia paused, clipboard against her chest. "Mr. Harrington," she said carefully, "that woman who was here the first day. When exactly did you last see her?" The question hung in the air like smoke, and suddenly Cole realized he didn't want to know the answer. Rebecca had left the same day. She saw his face, but Nia stayed through every nightmare, every fever, every moment he wished he hadn't survived. "The security footage doesn't lie, Mr. Harrington." Hospital Administrator Janet Walsh sat across from Cole's bed, her expression carefully neutral. On her tablet, black and white security video showed Rebecca entering Harborview Medical Center on day 1. Flowers in her hands, designer heels clicking against linoleum. Then, 3 hours later, the same camera captured her leaving. No flowers. Face pale. Walking fast like she was running from something. "She never came back," Walsh said quietly. "I'm sorry." Cole stared at the frozen image of Rebecca's retreating figure. The woman who'd promised to love him through anything had taken one look at his scarred face and decided anything had limits. The tablet screen went black, but the truth remained bright and cutting. Nia appeared in the doorway, holding a cup of coffee and wearing the expression she got when patients refused physical therapy. "Mrs. Walsh, visiting hours are over." "Of course." Walsh gathered her things. "Mr. Harrington, if you need anything, I need to understand why." Cole's voice was raw. 6 years together. We were supposed to get married next month. "Some people love the idea of you," Nia said after Walsh left. "Others love the actual you. The difference becomes clear during crisis." She set her coffee on the side table and began checking his monitors with practiced efficiency. But Cole caught the way her jaw tightened, the anger she was trying to hide. "You're mad at her too. I'm not paid to have opinions about your personal life. But you do anyway." Nia's hands stilled on his chart. "I've worked trauma for 8 years. I've seen what real love looks like when someone's world falls apart. Partners who sleep in waiting room chairs for weeks. Wives who learn medical terminology so they can understand their husband's treatment. People who see past the temporary damage to the permanent person underneath." She met his eyes directly. "That woman saw your scars and decided you weren't worth the investment anymore. That tells me everything I need to know about the investment she made in the first place." Physical therapy felt like torture disguised as progress. Each step on his shattered legs was a reminder of everything broken. But Nia was there, counting beside him, her voice cutting through the pain. One more. Just one more. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't feeling invincible. It's getting up when everything hurts. Her hand was steady on his elbow as he struggled with the walking frame. Such a simple touch, but it carried him forward when his own will faltered. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you'd given up on yourself? Share your story of unexpected strength. That night, as thunderstorms shook the hospital windows, Cole found himself telling Nia about the nightmares. Not about the crash, but about Rebecca's face when she first saw his scars. You know what the worst part is? He whispered. Nia leaned closer, and her answer would haunt him. That you still think her love was real. She saw him cry for the first time on a Tuesday, not from physical pain, but from the weight of realizing how alone he'd always been. It happened in the bathroom at 3 a.m. Cole had finally convinced himself to look in the mirror to see what Rebecca had seen. The wheelchair positioned perfectly so he could study the roadmap of scars across his face. The fluorescent light was harsh, unforgiving. 3 jagged lines ran from his left temple to his jaw. His nose sat slightly crooked now. The man staring back at him looked like a stranger wearing his memories. She was right to leave, he whispered to his reflection. Look at me. I am looking. Nia appeared behind him in the mirror, off-duty clothes replacing her scrubs. Jeans and a soft sweater that made her look younger, more vulnerable. What are you doing here so late? Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd check on my most stubborn patient. She moved beside his wheelchair, studying their joint reflection. What do you see when you look in that mirror? A monster. Damaged goods. Someone nobody could love. That's not what I see. Cole turned to study her face for signs of deception, professional kindness, pity. What he found instead was something terrifying and wonderful. Honesty. What do you see? I see a man who survived something that should have killed him. I see someone learning to walk again because he refuses to give up. I see eyes that are kinder now than they were in any magazine photo I've seen. Her hand covered his on the wheelchair armrest. The contact was electric, real in a way nothing had been for weeks. You think I'm more handsome now than before? His voice held disbelief. I think you're more real now. Before, you looked like a billboard advertisement for success. Perfect and untouchable and... She paused, searching for words. Empty. Now you look like someone who's lived through something. Someone who's earned every line on his face. Cole had never thought of his scars as earned. Always as punishment, evidence of failure, reasons to hide. Rebecca couldn't see that. Rebecca couldn't see you. Not really. She saw your bank account and your magazine covers and your social status. When those things couldn't protect her from reality, she ran. And you stayed. I stayed because I see who you are when you think nobody's watching. When you thank the janitor by name. When you ask about my day like the answer matters. When you cry because you think you're not worth loving anymore. The space between them crackled with tension neither acknowledged. Her hand was still covering his, thumb tracing gentle circles against his knuckles. Nia, I should go. This is... She pulled her hand away, professional distance snapping back into place. This is complicated. What would you want someone to see when you're at your most broken? Drop a heart if you found that person. But as she turned to leave, Cole found courage he didn't know he possessed. Wait. When she paused at the door, he spoke to her reflection one more time. Thank you for seeing me. She smiled, real and warm and devastating. How could I not? But across town, Rebecca was planning her return. Hospital policy was clear. No personal relationships between staff and patients. But some rules break themselves when hearts refuse to follow protocol. Discharge papers are ready, Mr. Harrington. Dr. Martinez set the clipboard on Cole's bed table, but his expression was concerned. However, I'm not comfortable releasing you without adequate home care support. The physical therapy requirements alone. I'll hire someone. It's not that simple. You need someone familiar with your specific injuries, someone who understands the complexity of your recovery timeline. Martinez glanced at Nia, who was organizing Cole's medications with studied concentration. Unfortunately, Our best trauma nurses are already fully committed to other patients. Cole caught Nia's eye. They've been dancing around this conversation for days. Hospital policy prohibited staff from providing private care to patients they treated. But Cole's penthouse felt like a prison sentence without the one person who made recovery bearable. What if? Nia started, then stopped herself. What if what? Cole prompted. Nothing. It's against regulations. Screw the regulations. The words came out harder than Cole intended. Sorry, I don't want to start over with someone new. Someone who doesn't know. He gestured vaguely at his scars, his wheelchair, the invisible wounds that hurt worse than the visible ones. I understand, Martinez said quietly. Nia, could I speak with you privately? They stepped into the hallway, voices low but urgent. Cole caught fragments through the partially closed door. Exceptional circumstances. Could lose my license. Patient's well-being comes first. When they returned, Nia's expression was carefully neutral, but Cole caught the decision in her eyes before she spoke. I can provide transitional care for 2 weeks. Private contract, not through the hospital. Just until you're stable enough for a regular home health aide. Relief flooded through him so completely he almost laughed. Thank you. This is strictly professional, she said, but her eyes told a different story. I'll need my own room, establish boundaries, clear medical protocols. Of course, whatever you need. His penthouse overlooked Elliott Bay, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Space Needle like a postcard. But Nia wasn't looking at the million-dollar view. She was studying the photos on his mantle, seeing the boy he'd been before success hardened him into someone unrecognizable. Is this your family? She pointed to a photo of teenage Cole with an older couple in front of a modest house. My adoptive parents. They died when I was 25. They look proud of you. They were. They never got to see. He gestured at the penthouse, the view, the evidence of everything he'd achieved. All of this. Maybe they did see it, just not the way you think. That evening, as she helped him transfer from wheelchair to bed, their faces ended up inches apart. Her breath was warm against his cheek, her hands steady on his shoulders. This changes things, he whispered. She nodded, not pulling away. I know. Have you ever crossed a line you shouldn't have because your heart knew something your mind hadn't figured out yet? Tell me about it. What neither of them knew was that across the city, paparazzi cameras were already focused on his building. Love bloomed in private, but exploded into public scrutiny the moment they stepped outside together. Two people who never asked to become a symbol. The first photo hit Twitter at 7:43 a.m. Cole was helping Nia load groceries into his Tesla, his walking cane propped against the car door. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand resting naturally on his arm. To them, it was just Tuesday morning. To the internet, it was breaking news. Tech billionaire's mystery woman. Who is she? By noon, hashtag Cole Mystery was trending. The comments section became a battlefield. Good for him. She's beautiful. Gold digger alert. Look how fast she moved in. Mixed race couple goals. Love this. She's obviously after his money. Wake up, people. Cole's phone buzzed constantly. His assistant Marcus called every 10 minutes with updates that made his stomach clench tighter. Channel 7 wants an exclusive. Forbes is asking about your recovery companion. And sir, Marcus's voice dropped. Your board members are requesting an emergency meeting. About what? About your public image and company stability. Cole ended the call and found Nia sitting at his kitchen island, staring at her own phone. Her face was pale, jaw tight. Everything okay? She turned the screen toward him. Her Instagram had been flooded with comments, most of them ugly. Really ugly. Someone found my apartment building, she said quietly. There were photographers waiting when I went to get more clothes this morning. The camera flashes had exploded like fireworks as they'd left the medical building earlier, Cole leaning on his walking cane, Nia's hand steady on his elbow. The questions shouted at them had turned her name into a weapon. Is it true you're dating your patient? How long have you been living together? Did you know him before the accident? But she kept walking, chin raised, as if she'd been preparing for this moment her entire life. Now, in the safety of his penthouse, the reality was hitting them both. I can leave, she said. Go back to the hospital, finish out my contract there. This doesn't have to affect your business. No, the word came out harder than Cole intended. I'm not letting it drive you away. Cole, be realistic. Look at these comments. Look at what they're saying about me, about us. Your company stock probably dropped just from these photos. She was right. The market had already reacted. Harrington Technologies was down 3% in afternoon trading. I don't care about the stock price, but your investors do. Your employees do. I won't be responsible for destroying what you've built. Cole reached for her hands, pulling her closer. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, more intimate despite the chaos outside. You're not destroying anything. You're saving everything that matters. That's when the tension that had been building for weeks finally broke. He kissed her in his kitchen, desperate and hungry, born from the need to claim something real amid the chaos. Her response was immediate, fierce. This wasn't the careful attraction they'd been dancing around. This was need, pure and undeniable. Have you ever been judged for who you love? How did you handle the pressure? Share your experience below. That night, as they held each other against the storm of public opinion, Cole's phone buzzed with a text that made his blood freeze. Saw the photos. We need to talk. Rebecca wasn't just returning. She was declaring war. Rebecca walked back into his life like she'd never left, all apologies and designer tears. But Nia could see what Cole couldn't. The calculation behind every sob. The knock came at 8 p.m. sharp. Cole answered the door, expecting Marcus or maybe another reporter. Instead, Rebecca stood in his hallway like a magazine cover come alive. Red dress, clinging to curves that had once made him forget everything else. Perfect makeup designed to look like she'd been crying. Cole. Her voice broke on his name. Oh God, your face. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. Behind him, Nia watched from the kitchen doorway. Professional training had taught her to read people quickly, accurately. Rebecca's performance was flawless, except for the way her eyes calculated everything they touched. Where were you? Cole's voice was flat. My mother. Rebecca stepped closer, her hand reaching toward his scars before pulling back. She had a stroke the day after your accident. I flew to Phoenix immediately. I've been there for weeks, no phone service at the rehabilitation center, completely cut off from everything. The lie was perfect, sympathetic, impossible to verify quickly. I tried to call the hospital, but they said you weren't taking visitors. I thought. She let tears fill her eyes. I thought you didn't want to see me. After everything that happened that night in the car, Cole's face softened. The doubt that had been hardening into certainty began to crack. Nia stepped forward. I'm Nia Carter, Cole's nurse. We weren't aware he had a fiancée. Rebecca's smile was sharp as glass. And I wasn't aware he needed such personal care. Her gaze swept over Nia's casual clothes, the obvious intimacy of someone comfortable in Cole's space. How dedicated of you to stay so late. I live here temporarily. For his medical care. How convenient. Rebecca turned back to Cole, pressing closer. Darling, we need to talk. Privately. Cole looked between them, confusion and guilt warring across his face. The man who'd kissed Nia with desperate hunger hours earlier was disappearing, replaced by someone Nia didn't recognize. Maybe I should give you space, Nia said quietly. No. Cole's response was immediate. Whatever Rebecca has to say, she can say it here. Rebecca's mask slipped for just a second, annoyance flashing before the grief returned. Fine. Cole, I know you're angry. I know it looks bad that I wasn't here when you woke up, but I was dealing with my own family crisis. My mother almost died. She moved to the couch like she owned it, every gesture designed to reclaim territory. And when I finally got back to Seattle and saw those photos online, Cole, they're calling her a gold digger. They're saying terrible things about both of you. Those people don't know us, Cole said, but they know your business, your reputation, everything we built together. Rebecca's hand found his, squeezing gently. I can fix this. We can fix this. Together. Have you ever had to choose between what was expected and what was real? What would you do in Cole's position? As Rebecca pressed against him, whispering promises she'd broken before, Cole's phone lit up with a photo that changed everything. Nia at the airport, suitcase in hand, walking toward the departure gate. She was leaving Seattle. She was leaving him. Love doesn't wait for perfect timing. Sometimes it demands you choose, right now, between comfortable lies and dangerous truth. Nia, wait. Cole's voice echoed through his penthouse as the front door slammed shut. Rebecca was still talking, still explaining, still weaving her web of believable lies. But all he could see was the image of Nia walking away. Cole, where are you going? Rebecca's voice turned sharp. We're in the middle of a conversation. No, we're not. He grabbed his car keys with shaking hands. We're in the middle of you lying to me. Lying? My mother had a stroke 6 weeks ago, not 6 days. I just Googled Phoenix rehabilitation centers. None of them restrict phone access. Cole's walking cane clattered against the marble floor as he headed for the door. Your story doesn't check out, Rebecca. Nothing about you checks out anymore. SeaTac Airport stretched endlessly before him 40 minutes later. His legs screamed in protest as he searched gate after gate, his cane tapping against polished floors. Physical pain felt insignificant compared to the possibility of losing the only real thing in his life. Terminal B, Gate 47, Atlanta departure, 11:35 p.m. There she was. Nia sat in the waiting area, her small suitcase beside her, boarding pass in her hands. She looked smaller, somehow younger, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen. Flight 1247 to Atlanta, now boarding first-class passengers. She stood, shouldering her bag. Nia. She turned, surprise and pain flashing across her face. Other passengers stared as Cole made his way toward her, his damaged body moving with determination that defied his limitations. Don't go. Cole, what are you doing here? Rebecca. Rebecca left me the day I got hurt. Everything else is just theater. He reached for her hands, not caring about the crowd gathering around them. She showed up tonight because of the photos. Because suddenly I'm news again. You don't know that. I know that she looked at my scars and ran. I know that you looked at them and stayed. His voice broke. I know that for the first time in my life, someone loves me for who I am, not what I can provide. Final boarding call for Flight 1247 to Atlanta. Nia's eyes filled with tears. The media, the pressure, your business. None of that matters without you. It does matter. You worked your whole life to build what you have. I worked my whole life to find what I have with you. He pulled her closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. I love you, Nia. Not because you saved my life, but because you showed me what life could be. The kiss happened in the middle of the busy airport, passionate and desperate, witnessed by hundreds of strangers who pulled out phones to capture the moment. But Cole didn't care about cameras anymore. He cared about the woman in his arms who'd chosen to love him when he was broken. What's the most dramatic thing you've ever done for love? Would you chase someone through an airport? Tell me your story. As they held each other, both crying and laughing, a news crew approached with cameras rolling. But this time, instead of running from the spotlight, Cole pulled Nia closer and spoke directly into the lens. This is the woman I love, and I have something to say about the lies being spread about her. Truth is a weapon that cuts both ways. It can destroy your enemies, but can also leave you bleeding in public. The television studio lights blazed hot against Cole's scarred face, but he had never felt more comfortable being seen. Beside him, Nia sat with her hands folded, ready to tell their story, not as entertainment, but as truth. Good evening. I'm Janet Morrison with Channel 7 News. Tonight, an exclusive interview with tech billionaire Cole Harrington and the woman at the center of recent media attention, trauma nurse Nia Carter. Morrison leaned forward, her expression serious. Cole, let's address the elephant in the room. Your former fiancée, Rebecca Matthews, has gone public with claims that Ms. Carter manipulated you during a vulnerable time. How do you respond? Cole's jaw tightened. That morning, Rebecca had appeared on 3 different morning shows. Tears perfectly timed, story perfectly crafted. The grieving fiancé, the conniving nurse, the tragic misunderstanding. Rebecca left me the day she saw my injuries, Cole said simply. Hospital security footage confirms she never returned during my 6-week recovery. She abandoned me when I needed her most. but she claimed she was caring for her sick mother. Her mother's medical records show she was released from the hospital 2 days after Rebecca claims to have flown to Phoenix. Rebecca spent the last 6 weeks in Cabo with her personal trainer. Instagram posts prove it, despite her attempts to delete them. Morrison's eyebrows rose. "You investigated your former fiancé?" "I investigated the truth. Something I should have done years ago." Cole reached for Nia's hand. "This woman saved my life in every way that matters. She deserves better than lies and manipulation." "Ms. Carter," Morrison turned to Nia, "how do you respond to accusations that you're a gold digger who took advantage of a vulnerable man?" Nia's voice was steady, clear. "I make $68,000 a year as a trauma nurse. I've sent most of my savings to help my family in Atlanta. If I was after money, I chose the wrong profession. But you did develop feelings for your patient. I developed feelings for a man who treated me with respect and kindness, who saw me as a person, not a service provider. The fact that he's wealthy is irrelevant to why I love him." Cole squeezed her hand. "I fell in love with someone who stayed up all night when I had nightmares, who pushed me through physical therapy when I wanted to quit, who loved me when I couldn't love myself." "What about the impact on your business?" Morrison asked. "Harrington Technologies stock has actually risen 12% since we went public with our relationship. Apparently, investors appreciate authenticity over performance." Cole's smile was slight but genuine. "And if they didn't, I'd choose her anyway." The interview aired at 11 p.m. and went viral within hours. #AuthenticLove started trending, drowning out the hate with stories of real couples who'd found each other against the odds. But among the supportive comments was one that made Nia's blood run cold. "Ask her about the money she's been sending to Atlanta. Gold diggers always have a sob story. Have you ever had to defend your relationship publicly? How do you handle criticism of your love choices?" Someone had been investigating her background, and they found her family secret. Every family has secrets, but some secrets have the power to destroy the very love they were meant to protect. The bank statements spread across Cole's dining table told a story of sacrifice he'd never imagined. Every dollar Nia had saved from her nursing salary, sent home to keep her parents' house, her sister's medical school tuition, her nephew's asthma treatments. "You've been supporting your entire family," Cole said quietly. Nia stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself. "For 8 years. Since my brother died and left behind medical debt that would have destroyed them. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew how it would look. Poor girl from Atlanta sends money home, starts dating rich man in Seattle. Even I can see how that story writes itself." Cole studied the numbers. $43,000 sent to Atlanta in the past year alone. Her apartment rent was tiny compared to what she was giving away. She'd been living on almost nothing to keep her family afloat. This proves you're not a gold digger. This proves you're selfless to a fault. Or it proves I'm desperate enough to trap a rich man who can solve all my problems. Nia's voice was bitter. At least, that's how the media is spinning it. The morning news had been brutal. Rebecca's interview was just the beginning. Someone had leaked Nia's financial records, her family struggles, even her brother's death certificate. The story was everywhere. Nurse's family financial crisis. Was love really the motive? Follow the money, the real reason she stayed. Atlanta family's debt. Did she target Cole Harrington? Cole's phone buzzed constantly with calls from investors, board members, reporters wanting statements. His assistant Marcus had fielded 37 interview requests before 10 a.m. "I should have told you," Nia said. "About my family, the money, everything. Why didn't you?" She turned from the window, eyes bright with unshed tears. "Because I was falling in love with you, and I didn't want you to think it was about anything else. I didn't want you to calculate whether my feelings were real or just financial desperation. And now everyone thinks they know the truth. That I saw a rich, injured man and decided to cash in." She laughed, but it sounded broken. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I did use you." Cole stood, moving toward her despite the pain in his legs. "Do you love me? That's not the point. It's the only point." He reached for her hands. "Do you love me?" "Yes." The word came out as a whisper. God help me, yes. Then nothing else matters. But even as they held each other, Cole's phone was ringing again. This time, the caller ID made his stomach drop. Seattle Police Department. Mr. Harrington? This is Detective Rivera. We need to speak with you about your car accident. We've discovered some disturbing evidence that suggests it wasn't an accident at all. Have you ever hidden your struggles to protect someone you love? Share if you've been in Nia's position. The investigation into his crash had taken a dangerous turn. Someone had wanted Cole dead, and now that someone knew Nia was the only witness who could identify them. Some accidents aren't accidents, and some people will kill to keep their secrets buried. Detective Rivera's words echoed in the sterile conference room at Seattle Police Headquarters. Brake line tampering, corporate espionage, attempted murder. Cole gripped Nia's hand as crime scene photos spread across the table. His mangled Lamborghini from angles he'd never seen, close-ups of severed brake lines that should have been intact. We initially ruled it vehicular homicide by the truck driver, Rivera continued. But the driver died from his injuries before we could question him. Toxicology came back clean. No alcohol, no drugs, which made us look deeper. Deeper how? Cole's voice was tight. Your car's maintenance records, security footage from your building's garage, financial records of everyone with access to your vehicle. Rivera pulled out another file. 3 days before your accident, someone accessed your parking garage using Rebecca Matthews' key card. The room went silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Cole felt Nia's hand tighten in his. Rebecca was with me that night, Cole said slowly. She couldn't have. She wasn't alone. Rivera slid a surveillance photo across the table. Black and white, grainy, but clear enough. Rebecca entering the parking garage at 2:47 a.m. Behind her, a figure in dark clothing, face obscured by a baseball cap. We've identified the second person, Rivera said. Marcus Webb, your assistant. The world tilted. Marcus, who'd been with Cole's company for 3 years, who handled his schedule, his meetings, his most confidential business deals, who called every day during his recovery, asking about his condition. That's impossible, Cole whispered. Mr. Webb has been selling your company's secrets to Titan Industries for 18 months. When you were about to close the Tokyo deal that would have made Harrington Technologies the dominant player in cloud security, Titan made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Nia spoke for the first time. They wanted him dead. They wanted him permanently out of the picture. Dead was preferable, but brain damage would have worked too. Either way, the Tokyo deal would have collapsed, Harrington stock would have crashed, and Titan could have bought the company for pennies on the dollar. Cole's phone had been buzzing constantly since they arrived at the station. Marcus, probably wondering why his boss wasn't returning calls. The man who'd been slowly killing Cole's company while pretending to care about his recovery. Rebecca was part of this. We believe she was paid to keep you distracted, maybe to gather information about your business plans. When a murder attempt failed and you started recovering, she panicked. That's why she disappeared and came back when she saw the photos of Nia and me. Cole realized she needed to get close again, control the situation. Exactly, but here's the problem. Rivera's expression darkened. We have circumstantial evidence, but nothing that will hold up in court. No direct connection between Marcus and the brake tampering. No proof Rebecca knew about the murder plot. So they get away with it? Not necessarily. Rivera looked between Cole and Nia. We need them to confess. On record, how far would someone go to destroy your happiness? Have you ever felt truly threatened by jealousy or greed? That night, as they held each other in Cole's secured penthouse, Nia whispered something that changed everything. I know who did this, and I know how to prove it. Her revelation would either save them both or get them killed. Sometimes the only way to catch a predator is to make yourself the perfect prey. This is insane, Detective Rivera said, studying Nia's plan. You want to wire yourself and confront 2 potential murderers at a public event. The charity gala at the Space Needle, Nia confirmed. Rebecca will be there. She's already confirmed through social media. And Marcus will come if Cole asks him to. They sat in Cole's living room. FBI recording equipment spread across his coffee table like high-tech jewelry. Agent Sarah Chun adjusted the tiny microphone that would be hidden in Nia's dress. "The risk is enormous," Chun said, "if they suspect you're recording." "They won't," Cole interrupted. "Rebecca thinks she's won. She's been doing victory laps on Instagram all week, posting about truth prevailing and real love conquering gold diggers." The plan was simple, dangerous, and completely dependent on Rebecca's arrogance. Cole would publicly reconcile with Rebecca at the gala, making it look like Nia had been exposed as a fraud. Rebecca would be so confident in her victory that she'd reveal details about the murder plot, thinking she was safe. "What if she doesn't confess?" Rivera asked. "She will," Nia said quietly. "I've seen her type before. She can't resist gloating when she thinks she's won." Cole studied Nia's face, memorizing every detail. The gala was in 3 hours. After tonight, either they'd have enough evidence to put Rebecca and Marcus away forever, or they'd both be dead. "I should be the one taking the risk," Cole said for the 10th time. "You can't. They'll expect you to be emotional, unpredictable, but they'll underestimate me. They always do." Nia's smile was sharp as a blade. "Besides, Rebecca hates me. She'll want to tell me exactly how she destroyed us. That's when we'll get her." The charity gala at the Space Needle was the same event where Cole and Rebecca should have announced their engagement 6 months ago. Now, it would be the stage for a very different kind of performance. Cole straightened his tie, his hands shaking slightly. The scarred reflection in his bedroom mirror looked like a stranger playing dress-up in his old life. "You ready for this?" Nia appeared behind him, stunning in a black dress that hugged every curve. The tiny recording device was invisible, but Cole knew it was there, a lifeline and a death sentence all at once. "Are you?" She moved closer, her hands smoothing his lapels. "I've been ready since the day she walked back into your life, thinking she could take what wasn't hers." The Space Needle's observation deck glittered with the ghost of parties past. Seattle spread below like scattered diamonds. But tonight's gathering wasn't about celebration. It was about justice. Would you risk everything to get justice for someone you love? Share if you've ever had to be brave when you were terrified. As Rebecca walked into their trap, designer dress flowing, perfect smile masking a killer's heart, Cole squeezed Nia's hand one last time before they separated to play their parts. But neither of them expected Rebecca's confession to implicate someone they trusted completely, someone who was standing right behind them. Truth exploded like lightning across the Seattle skyline, illuminating everything, leaving nothing hidden, changing the landscape forever. "You actually thought you could outsmart me?" Rebecca's laugh echoed across the Space Needle's observation deck as Cole pretended to grovel for her forgiveness. The other gala guests had been quietly evacuated, leaving only the core players in this deadly game. "I know exactly what this little setup is," Rebecca continued, circling Nia like a predator. "The wires, the recording devices, the FBI agents pretending to be waiters. Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Cole's blood turned cold. The plan was blown. They were trapped 300 feet above Seattle with a woman who'd already tried to kill him once. "But here's the thing," Rebecca's voice turned silky, dangerous. "I don't care if you're recording, because I didn't kill anyone. You hired Marcus to tamper with Cole's brakes," Nia said, her voice steady despite the terror Cole could see in her eyes. "Did I?" Rebecca pulled out her phone, scrolling through messages. Because according to these texts, Marcus was acting on orders from someone else entirely. Someone who had access to Cole's car, his schedule, his most intimate details. She turned the phone screen toward them. The messages were clear, damning. "Make it look like an accident. He can't survive. Too much is at stake. If this fails, we're all dead." But the name at the top of the message thread made Cole's world collapse. Dr. Martinez. "That's right." Rebecca's smile was triumphant. "Your beloved doctor, the man who saved your life, is the same man who tried to end it. Turns out medical ethics don't apply when someone's offering you $50 million. The observation deck's glass doors opened. Dr. Martinez stepped out, no longer the compassionate physician who'd overseen Cole's recovery. His face was cold, calculating. "I try to make it clean," Martinez said simply. "Quick death, no suffering. But you survived, and that created complications. Why? Cole's voice was barely a whisper. Titan Industries needed Harrington Technologies' cloud security patents. Your death would have triggered the company's dissolution clause, making those patents available for purchase. $50 million was a small price for technology worth billions. So you saved me just to finish the job later? I saved you because letting you die immediately would have raised questions. But a slow decline, depression, maybe suicide from your injuries. Martinez shrugged. Much more believable. The recording devices hidden throughout the observation deck captured every word. FBI agents moved in from multiple entrances, weapons drawn. Dr. Richard Martinez, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, Agent Chin announced. Rebecca Matthews, conspiracy and accessory to attempted murder. Marcus Webb, corporate espionage and attempted murder. The arrests unfolded like choreographed dance. Handcuffs clicking, rights being read, the truth finally blazing brighter than any lie. Rebecca's designer heels clicked against metal as her perfect mask shattered completely. Have you ever seen justice served after a long struggle? How did it feel to finally be vindicated? As the police cars pulled away with Rebecca, Marcus, and Dr. Martinez, Cole dropped to one knee on the Space Needle's observation deck. Not the proposal Rebecca had demanded, but the one Nia deserved. The ring was different this time. Not a symbol of possession, but a promise of partnership between equals who'd fought for the right to love freely. Nia Carter. Cole's voice carried across the empty observation deck, Seattle's lights twinkling below them like fallen stars. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what love was. I thought it was performance, transaction, image management. She stood before him, still beautiful despite everything they'd endured. The recording equipment had been removed, the FBI agents had departed, and finally, it was just them. You taught me that love is showing up when someone's world falls apart. Love is seeing scars as stories of survival. Love is choosing someone every day, especially when it's hard. The ring caught Seattle's city lights like captured stars, but it wasn't the diamonds that made her cry. It was the inscription inside. To the woman who saw me first, loved me truly, and fought beside me always. I'm not asking you to complete me, Cole continued. I'm asking if we can build something together that neither of us could create alone. Will you marry me? Nia looked down at him. This man who'd been broken and rebuilt, who'd chosen her over safety, over image, over everything that used to matter to him. Yes, she whispered, then louder, yes, absolutely yes. The kiss that followed was different from all the others. Not desperate or stolen or charged with forbidden tension. This was celebration, promise, the beginning of something permanent and chosen. Cole slipped the ring onto her finger, his hand steady for the first time in months. The weight of it felt right, substantial but not heavy. There's one more thing, he said, pulling out his phone. I've been working on something while we plan tonight. On the screen was a website, the Nia Carter Foundation for Trauma Recovery. Medical care, counseling, and financial support for families dealing with sudden medical crises. I liquidated some investments, Cole explained. Enough to fund it permanently. No one should have to choose between keeping someone alive and destroying their own future. Nia stared at the screen, tears flowing freely now. You named it after me? You inspired it. Your family's struggles, what you sacrificed to keep them afloat, what almost drove you away from me because you were ashamed of needing help. He cupped her face gently. Shame has no place in survival. They stood together on the Space Needle's observation deck, the same place where Rebecca had planned her fake engagement announcement, now transformed into something real and true. So what happens now? Nia asked. Now we plan a wedding. We build the foundation. We help people who are fighting the same battles you fought alone. Cole smiled, the expression transforming his scarred face into something luminous. And we love each other through whatever comes next. What would your perfect proposal look like? Not the Instagram version, but the one that truly represents your love story? As they planned their future together, Nia placed her hand on her stomach with a smile that lit up brighter than the Space Needle. There's something else we need to talk about, she whispered, and Cole's world expanded in the most beautiful way possible. 9 months later, As Cole held their daughter while Nia recovered from labor, he realized the crash hadn't destroyed his life. It had delivered him to the only life worth living. Harborview Medical Center looked different now. Not like a place of trauma, but like the birthplace of miracles. The same room where Cole had awakened broken now held their perfect, healthy daughter, while Nia glowed with the strength that had saved them all. "She has your eyes," Nia whispered for the hospital bed, watching Cole cradle their newborn. "She has your strength," Cole replied, studying the tiny face that would never know a world where love wasn't chosen daily, fought for, and celebrated openly. The wedding had been small, intimate, held in the community center where they'd volunteered together during Cole's recovery. Both their families present, the media respectfully distant, the focus on commitment rather than spectacle. Rebecca, Marcus, and Dr. Martinez were serving prison sentences. The trials had been swift, their confessions captured on recording devices, leaving little room for legal maneuvering. Justice, it turned out, was simpler when the truth was undeniable. Harrington Technologies had restructured, focusing on healthcare accessibility technology. Cole's near-death experience had shifted his priorities permanently. Profit mattered less than purpose. The Nia Carter Foundation had helped over 300 families in its first year, covering medical costs that would have destroyed them financially. Cole watched Nia run board meetings from her hospital bed via laptop, their daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms. "I have something for you," Cole said, pulling out a small wrap box. Inside was a pendant, simple silver, engraved with coordinates. "What is this?" "The exact location where we met. Room 314, Harborview Medical Center. The place where my real life began." Nia's eyes filled with tears as she studied the numbers that represented their origin story. Not a meet-cute or a chance encounter, but a collision of two people who needed exactly what the other had to give. Their daughter stirred, making soft sounds that spoke of hunger and comfort in a world where she was wanted, planned for, celebrated. "Thank you," Cole whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. For staying when leaving would have been easier. For building this with me." Outside their hospital room window, Seattle sparkled in the afternoon sun. The Space Needle stood tall and proud, no longer a symbol of what might have been, but of what was tested true and unbreakable. So there you have it, Cole and Nia's incredible journey from trauma to triumph, from lies to love, from brokenness to building something beautiful together. If this story moved you, smash that like button and subscribe for more real-life inspired love stories that prove love really can conquer all. Comment below, what part of their journey resonated most with you? Was it Cole's growth, Nia's strength, or their fight for justice together? And remember, sometimes what looks like an ending is really just the beginning of your greatest love story. Until next time, keep believing in love that sees, love that heals, and love that fights for what's right.